Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. I'm Teacup.
And I'm She-Cup, and we are so excited to bring you this podcast dedicated to unraveling all the mysteries woven in to the Assassin's Creed universe.
Each episode will be diving into a different lore discussion, from Pieces of Eden, solar flares, and the Isu to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus. We will seek to uncover it all.
So step into the Animus, join us in the shadows, and maybe even take a leap of faith. Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby, and we're back with another episode. But before we dive in, welcome to my host.
Hey, I am Austin or Teacup, and I am the other host of this podcast, and I'm excited to be here.
Me too. It's been a while. We took last week off. I lost my voice. The week before we had a patron chat. And so we haven't had a lore episode in like a month. So I'm excited to get back into it. And you could just tell us about our topic.
Yeah, so today we're doing a character deep dive, and we are looking at an Assassin's Creed game protagonist. We are jumping all the way to Assassin's Creed Rogue, and we're going to be talking about Shay Cormac. Shay Patrick Cormac. I make my own luck.
As the listeners know, I have thoughts. I've never played this game, so I think they're probably unfounded. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to keep an open mind throughout this episode. I'm making that commitment now. Making the commitment. I'm keeping an open mind. Although previously, I have historically been annoyed by this character. So I'm keeping an open mind tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll just dive right in here with our fun fact. So our first fun fact is a little bit of the word history of his name, which I always appreciate. So the word Shay is a corruption of chase from the French. And alternative meanings of this word mean liar, breaker of promises, and betrayer. It also means extension of your couch.
Yeah, I was like, it also means a couch. So I'm confused there.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I was going to make a joke, but I'll refrain. I don't want to get us canceled.
All right. So also, Shay's Templar attire bears similarities to the Templar armor obtained by Edward Kenway during his time in the West Indies, which I think is a nice little attention to detail because similar areas of the world. Though, I mean, I don't know if the West Indies and the northern part of, like, the Hudson Bay and New York and all of that area into Canada over there is really classified as the same area.
Well, definitely not. But I was under the impression that he started out in the Caribbean-ish area.
No.
So when you say the West Indies, they're just referring to North America and the Caribbean.
No, they're talking about Edward Kenway. So Edward Kenway obtains Templar armor in that game.
Right.
Shay's Templar armor is similar to that armor.
Oh, okay, I see. So it's just basically like, hey, you guys are on this other continent.
Yeah.
You can have some similarities.
Right.
All right.
Shay's Templar outfit is adorned with several symbols, including Celtic knocks, triquetras, and the Templar insignia, obviously, and ironically, Yggdrasil.
The World Tree.
The World Tree.
My conspiracy theory alarm bells are...
Yeah. It is interesting because the artifacts that Shay gets, I think, are connected to the World Tree.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, Maybe we should have done some whole what happens if Shay and Eivor switch games in our last patron chat.
Maybe we should have. Although Shay is not the first playable Templar in Assassin's Creed, we all know that honor goes to none other, the man himself, Daddy Haytham Kenway.
I was going to say Zaddy, but okay.
Yes. And he is the first one and only one with his own dedicated game. Even though, this is another fun fact, even though Shay justifies his defection from the assassins on the desire to protect the innocents, he is the only protagonist that can kill civilians without helix desynchronization. According to Rogue's lead writer, Richard Faris, this is due to a glitch in the Animus and not by intention.
A glitch in the Animus or a glitch in the game?
A glitch in the Animus, meaning that, like, they're not saying that Shay historically killed civilians.
Okay.
Let's get into his history. So, Shay Cormac was born on September 12th, 1731 in New York City to a family of Irish immigrants. So he is a colonial-born man. He's born in New York. His parents were immigrants from Ireland over into the colonies. 1731, we're talking 45-ish years before the Declaration of Independence. So it's ripe with that, which puts him at the right age to be fighting age by the time that the 7 years French and Indian War starts getting on. His mother died during childbirth, and his father was often absent from home due to his employment in the merchant marine, leaving Shay to be raised by his aunt. He lived in a rough part of the city, and Shay often found himself in trouble, but was taught how to protect himself by his friend Liam O'Brien, whom he had met while visiting his father at the docks one day. When he was 8 years old, Shay was already known for being quite the fighter on the street. The same year, he joined his father at sea to start working for his own wages. He was enthusiastic about the prospect of adventure and was taught basic self-defense skills with a sword and pistol in the event of pirate attack. So we have this kid whose mother dies, his father is absent, he's raised by an aunt. He meets his friend Liam on the streets, and he basically is known for picking fights.
Pretty typical.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really stand out so far.
Right. So tragedy does befall his father when they're on the sea. They're caught in a fierce storm, and it claims the lives of Shay's father and much of the crew.
Mm.
And from this point, Shay basically drifts around New York City streets. He picks fights in taverns until about a year he runs back into Liam, who has now joined the assassins. And so he convinces Shay by helping him recover from his depression. He introduces him to Achilles Davenport, and Shay is then recruited into the Colonial Brotherhood. And I want to pause here to Shay is the perfect target for the assassin recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
No familial ties.
Already knows how to fight.
And already has a sense of buy-in. Shay appears to be the perfect person who would buy into the Assassin's Creed ideology.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also it's kind of he has nothing and no one. Okay, let's give him some options.
Yeah, I think I do. There is an optional buy-in. But the thing about Shay that I think is really a crux of his character later is that Shay buys in because of Liam, really, not because he believes in the assassin ideology.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I want to bring this up we'll have a question at the end that I want to talk about. And so, although Shay served loyally and dutifully, he harbored more doubts about the morality of the assassin's actions and Achilles' prohibitions than any other assassin in the Colonial Brotherhood.
Well, and I think that makes sense for a kid who's lived on the streets as an orphan, who's had pretty much no rules at all whatsoever for years to, when he's faced with rules for, the first time in a long time, to buck up against that.
Yes, absolutely. And so he also suffers bullying from some of the other assassins who kind of view him as a gutter rat, other things like that. Particularly Chevalier, who is a French Navy like pirate, and there's already tension between the French and the British Isles entirety. I know the Irish. There are some Irish who will punch me if I call them British, but just talking about that area in general.
As long as you don't call them English, I think that they will be marginally okay.
I would never call them English.
That's like
that would be
the worst.
That would be like calling well, not the same, but like, yeah, I would never call them English.
Okay.
Anyway, so he basically, Chevalier holds him in contempt and calls him a gutter rat, and that's a big thing. And then Achilles does not confide in him as much as he does Liam. And there's a lot of like things that Shay basically, Achilles favors Liam a lot. And there's a line where Shay basically says, Connor, Achilles' son, not Connor Kenway. Achilles' son, Connor, who we know dies, will inherit the ranch and the homestead, but you, Liam, will get the brotherhood.
Mm.
And that's what Shay says, and that's how Shay views the relationship between Achilles and Liam.
But like, to me, it comes across as very like whiny almost, because like, if you, Shay, had maybe like not doubted Achilles so much, if you had just kind of like, and not to just say, oh, you have to fall in line and you'll get everything you want, but just like if you had come at this with like an open mind, you maybe would have also been brought into the confidence of Achilles.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's true, but I think that, a little spoiler, I think Shay is loyal to people, not ideologies.
Okay, fair.
And I think that's a really big crux for being a part of these organizations. So there are a couple events that happen in Rogue. I'm not going to go through all of Rogue, but I want to talk about a couple of things that I think are the crux issues of where we get Shay from the beginning to the end. And the first one is the assassination of Lawrence Washington, who I believe is either George Washington's cousin or his uncle. He is some like elderly relative of George Washington, but not his father. And he's a Templar, and he's dying and is sickly, and they send Shay to assassinate him because he had stolen some artifact manuscript box that they need to unlock whatever box they're trying to do. Because basically Adewale comes and says there was this great earthquake in Haiti, like this little box is part of it, and then the manuscript is another part of it, and you have to find it.
So Lawrence Washington, just in case you're wondering, is the older half-brother of George. He is also the one, the first of the family to live in Mount Vernon.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, so he is the half-brother of George Washington, and he is sickly, and Shay assassinates him, and basically there is a point of, like, Shay's like, why did we kill this person? He was sickly, he was going to die, like, there was no reason. We could have stolen what we needed without having to kill him. And Liam's thing is that he's a Templar and needs to die.
Here's my question. Could they have?
It's up for debate, because it's a point of like, I'm gonna start. I think this is a limitation of the Animus. The Animus cannot show you what is possible. You have to interpret that.
Mm-hmm.
The Animus shows you what happened.
Right.
And so like the Animus, and like when you're going through it, like this is the points that like it doesn't tell you, oh, you have an option to spare. Like there's a way to go through it. Because you don't. Because Shay kills him. So, like, it's hard to say, could they have? But from Shay's perspective, they could have.
It's interesting, because to me, it seems like, from everything we know about Templars, is like, A, they never give up power. Even when they're on their deathbeds, even when they're dying, they still command loyalty of their group, and they can issue an order to go kill this group of people or do this certain thing to hurt however many people. And, you know, to the assassins, I understand why they would want to eradicate that risk.
Yes, I do. I agree with that. But Shay's thing is like we could have just waited for him to die.
Fair.
Because he would have died soon.
Yeah, I get that too.
The next crux point, and this is really like the thing that turns him, is Shay is present and causes the Lisbon earthquake of the 1700s. Which, if you don't know your history, this is a disastrous earthquake that happens at this time, and it causes a lot of reflection upon the world, especially theologically. What's wrong?
There are 2 Lawrence Washingtons.
Okay, well, it's okay. There are 2 Lawrence Washingtons. We might be wrong. If we're wrong, just forgive us.
I'm sorry, I went down a Wikipedia rabbit hole. There's one that's the half-brother of George, and then there's one that is the paternal grandfather of George.
I think it might be the paternal grandfather.
1698 is when he died.
No.
So it's the half-brother.
It's the half-brother. Well, because Shay's born in 17, like...
Right.
Whatever, 30. But anyway, 1731, and that's when he's born, and he's a, like... young man when he kills Lawrence Washington. So back to the Lisbon earthquake. It's this big moment. It's this big disaster. Lisbon, Portugal is utterly destroyed. And it causes the world to reflect of like, well, what did they do to deserve this? What happened? Like all of these things. Well, what happened is Shay, under the orders of Achilles, messes with an Isu artifact that uncovers the world. Or like uncovers like the roots of the world and causes the earthquake. So Shay causes the Lisbon earthquake.
Wow. So like the worst natural disaster in history up to that point of recorded history. Mm-hmm. That is Shay's fault. And he still has the audacity to say, I make my own luck. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes. So this is a really like important point. This is where I think sometimes Assassin's Creed stretches a little too far into plausibility, because I think generally the history of the Lisbon earthquake is not something that I consider in the like casual historical knowledge of the populace. You know what I mean? Like you have to have had a reason to learn about the Lisbon earthquake in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
the only reason I know about it is because in college we had a professor that was really obsessed with understanding the wave of atheism that came after it.
Yes. And that like there are points when understanding evil that they talk about the Lisbon earthquake as like a turning point in ideology of like it really challenges the God punishes people with natural disasters motif, because it was like did that
everyone
many people, and these or and like did everyone, and like, you know, each kind of big disaster like this like causes that kind of question. And like a big question after the Holocaust was like of the idea of like, if God was punishing us, what did we do to deserve this? And like that is a big theological question that we're not going to unpack ever probably on this podcast.
We couldn't, if we tackled that topic on every episode from here on out for as many episodes as we've done up to this point, we still wouldn't scratch the surface of that topic.
Correct. And so this is another point. So like this is the gravity of the situation, that the game doesn't really get to this, because at this point for the Western world, and I'm going to say the Western world because there are other disasters, like you have things like the recorded flood that exists and like the Epic of Gilgamesh and other things in the Bible and other cultures around that of this like that we think that there probably was some type of flood that happened in that area of some time. This is like the equivalent of that, like if there were writing and it was still in develop of like these myths, we would have myths about this Lisbon earthquake.
Right.
That's how detrimental this is. That's how present in the European conscience it is. That is a lot for a 20-something-year-old to handle and shoulder.
Oh, that's it. That's a lot for any human being, any one person to shoulder.
Yes. And like, he blames Achilles. And I think it's because he can't blame himself. And I think that is a thing of like Shay's own protection, is that from a very young age, like, things happen to him. And so he's never had to really face the consequences of his own actions. And like deal with the things of like, oh, well, the storm killed my father, childbirth killed my mother, which happened very often in the time period he lived in. And then we get to a point of now he's caused this earthquake because he grabbed an artifact and interacted with something before he really like stopped to look at and like maybe try to figure out what it did.
Right. But also I'm like, on some level you can like kind of make the argument that like he also caused all of those other things. Like, if it wasn't for him being born, his mother might still be alive.
Mm-hmm. He didn't cause the storm that took his mother.
Right. You can't cause a storm, but what, and I can understand from a child's point of view of like, well, what's so bad about me that my dad doesn't want to be here, that he has to go off on this ship and be away from me.
Right. And I think that this point when he tells Achilles about this, and Achilles doesn't immediately like destroy the precursor box or the manuscript, because he's like, we need to understand more about what's going on, which like they frame Achilles as like not really like understanding and dismissive of Shay. And I chalk this up to the limits again of the animus. We are not living Achilles' memories.
Right.
We are living someone's memories. We are living their perceptions. So Achilles appears that way because that's how Shay is perceiving him.
Right. And it's really third hand, because it's like you have Achilles himself in his own mind, and then how Shay perceives it. And then thirdly, how the animus translates it.
Exactly. And so it's really, and this is what I would say, like the animus is not that reliable as Abstergo claims it is.
No, I mean, we've seen multiple times of this kind of situation, or of, the bleeding effect, and,
right.
Lots of other
like,
things.
You see and perceive through the memories of someone else. Memory is not always
reliable.
A reliable tool.
Yeah.
And so he turns against the assassins and tries to steal the box, and there's a whole thing where he is shot. He is shot at the end, and it's appeared that he's dead, but he's not. And so then he is brought to New York again, and he basically helps the people who took him in and helped him. Their son was a Templar who died. And they basically rehabilitate him and help him. They're getting harassed by some criminals that are in the employ of the assassins. And like, it very much is like, and I cannot stress this enough, this is from Shay's perspective. And like, the game is framing the assassins as like, oh, they deal with criminals, they do all of these things. And so he turns against them with the help of someone named Colonel Monroe, who then like brings him into the fold of the Templars, and he helps the Templars without joining them until Colonel Monroe is killed, and then he comes into the fold of the Templars fully.
When he becomes a Templar, do they know that he was an assassin?
Yes.
Okay.
Both Colonel Monroe and Haytham know who he is. And so he's brought into the fold of all of that. And he goes about to try to basically, he betrays the assassins. He gains Haytham's trust because of this. And he talks a lot about how he is in the Templar cause now. But every time he mentions it, anytime, and I'll get to some quotes after the mid break. Every time he mentions it, he brings it up in the sense of like, well, I owe you my life. I have nowhere else to go. I have
I'm obligated.
It's all in the relation of like relationship, not commitment to the ideals.
Yeah.
And then he goes to France after the revolution to Versailles, where he kills Arno's father. And that is the opening of Assassin's Creed Unity.
You play as Shay?
You don't play as Shay at starting Unity.
You just see him.
Basically, Unity's opening came out before Rogue, or they came out around the same time. Unity opens with the murder of Arno's father, where you play as Kid Arno.
Yeah.
The end of Rogue, you play as Shay when you kill Arno's father.
Okay. That's crazy.
And then after successfully retrieving the precursor box from Arno's father, Shay continued to travel the world in search of more Isu artifacts for the Templar Order. At some point, he conceived a son whom he trained in the Order's ways, as his son later did with his grandson named Cudgel. He taught both of them the masters of free running and eagle vision that they inherited from him. He passed down the air rifle, which is an equipment unique to Shay. He remained a Templar to his death, having never betrayed the Order. And we're just going to kind of talk about that after that. But I think this is a good time to go to our mid-break and get there. And we'll talk about his personality, some quotes, and my question at the end.
All right, let's do it.
This Friday,
I love him. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same.
experience the greatest love story of all time.
Why did you leave me?
Why did you betray your own heart?
A film by Emerald Fennell.
Heathcliff.
Kathy.
Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi.
Kiss me and let us both be damned.
Wuthering Heights. Original songs by Charlie XCX. Only in theaters Friday. Experience it in IMAX. Rated R. Under 17. Not admitted without parent.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
You look like the one thing in the world Alcibiades wouldn't take to bed. Can you even see out of that thing?
Mock all you want. When those Malakas and Zakros see this beast charging towards them, they will know fear!
Let's start light. Tell me a joke.
Why must samurai always battle one another? Because there is only one way for a samurai to get ahead. Ahead. I did not say it was a good joke.
Makose! Shoot! Shoot the flying demon!
Welcome to the middle of the show. This is where we take time to talk about all the things that have to do with the lorecast and not the lore of Assassin's Creed. The first thing that I have to tell you about is our Patreon. You can support us financially if you really love the show. And you can also get some really great rewards like our merch, t-shirts, stickers, and t-shirt stickers once a quarter. And you can join us and get merch for as low as $10 a month, which you can find at patreon.com/ACLorecast. And a big thank you to everyone who currently supports us. We truly couldn't keep making this show without you. Now, the next best way to support us is to leave us a rating or a review. And we have one today from Darnell, who commented on our Pope Urban episode and said, I was raised in a Catholic church, but never really knew much about any of the popes. Now I can impress my family with all my newfound knowledge from this episode. The cups make everything very easy to understand for people like me, but don't seem like they're talking down, which is a fine line that can be tricky to balance. I also love how they make general episodes because I don't make living wage and can't afford any games past Rogue. Thank you so much for leaving us that awesome review. We greatly appreciate it, and the fact that you listened and commented on our episode. And the last thing that I have to shout out for the middle of the show is our Discord server. You should come hang out with us at the Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet, and we would love to have you. You can find the link in the episode description. And with that, Austin, I think we're ready to get back into it.
All right.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
No, you're right. Let's all just screw around while the world falls to pieces.
Hey, this isn't easy, you know.
Right, like we're all on vacation out here?
Enough! Look, everyone's under a lot of pressure, but we're the only ones who can stop Abstergo, so we need to keep it together.
She's right. We need to be a hive mind, people.
Anybody up for some reconciliatory yoga? Anyone?
Very funny, guys.
You have my thanks. Keep the sword, Ezio. Do I know you from somewhere? Don't you recognize me? It's me, Mario! Uncle Mario? It's been too long, Nipote. Far too long.
Malaka!
So let's talk about Shay's personality as we get in there, other than, you know, he makes his own luck. So as a child, Shay was rowdy and brash, qualities that repeatedly landed him in trouble with other kids, even before he had turned 8 years old. He lacked discipline, and his depression over the demise of his father aggravated it. Although Liam had hoped Shay would find a higher purpose in the life as he did with the assassin, Shay is far less receptive of the organization's ideas and never came to understand the philosophy behind the creed. He displayed extensive confusion over their principles and practices. On one occasion, he questioned Liam about the assassin's simultaneous support of the French in New France, but opposition to them in Haiti in lieu of liberating slaves, having failed to basically recognize the transcendent role that the Assassins organization holds. Which, honestly, before we get into quotes, I want to say about this is a failure on Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't understand this, because, like, I feel like the Assassins are too liberal with you just have to experience it and understand it.
Yeah. And also at the same time, how many times can you explain the same thing to one person?
That's true. We don't know if Achilles did. But given what we see of Achilles in Assassin's Creed 3, Achilles is not always the most forthcoming with explaining the why to people.
No. And I definitely think that is a failure of Achilles. And at the same time, I find it hard to believe he never explained any of it. I can very easily see a situation where, like, maybe Shay, as he has a history of being undisciplined, was being undisciplined in his assassin lessons and just missed stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think what really Shay lacks in this is because he is undisciplined, he lacks a commitment to the greater principle and the greater good. And I think you see this in his Templar things, and I'll go to this. I think he's only a Templar because they helped him. And he is loyal to the people. Like, all his relationships, I feel like, are transactional in this way. And, like, there's a point of, like, a lack of wisdom that, you know, Ezio begins the assassins for an end goal. He wants to avenge his family in the Borgia. But by the end of his life, Ezio has an understanding of the wisdom in the creed that comes from someone who really committed to it and finally said, you know, no, this is bad for the people who live in this world.
Yeah.
What this organization is trying to decide is bad for everyone. And so I have to oppose it, because if I don't, no one will.
Yeah.
And like, Ezio challenges a lot of points in the Assassins. Like, he has a lot of arguments with Machiavelli, of a point of, like, Machiavelli does not trust the people, and Ezio's like, this is the heart of what we do. We have to trust the people. And, like, you can't do that without a robust understanding of what your organization is about. And I think this might be effect of kind of a Star Wars prequel Jedi Order, like, arrogance and complacency and comfortability of, like, we believe that we will always be here, so we don't take the precautions, whereas Ezio knows what it's like to start from nothing.
Yeah, I just find it hard to believe that Achilles has that mindset when, like, arguably he's done what Ezio did in North America.
We don't actually know. We don't know if he inherits it or he builds it up. We know that he helps Connor do what Connor needs to do and rebuild the homestead and does that, but we don't know if Achilles builds that or if he just inherited the mentorship and other things like that. We don't really know.
Fair. Okay, I have thoughts about Shay, but let's get into some quotes first.
Yes. So quotes, obviously starting off the thing. This is one of the first conversations you have between him and Liam in the game, and says, "I make my own luck, Liam. Ah, you've been saying that for years, but you've precious little to show for it. Or have you been spending it all getting out of trouble? Well, you know, trouble just follows me around." Another conversation between Liam and Shay. "Achilles doesn't really trust me, does he? Give it time, Shay. Do this for him, for us, and you'll do much more than earn his trust." This is what Achilles says to, or Shay says to Achilles in one of the ends. So what's next? What's the next city you want me to smite? What happened in Haiti happened in Portugal. A great earthquake, thousands dead, thanks to your damned manuscript. And then Shay to Hope, another assassin that he has to kill, who he actually kind of respected and liked. He says, "Hope, I didn't want to do this." And Hope says, "I trained you to do this. I expected nothing less." And so the last quote doesn't come from Shay. It comes from Otto Berg, Shelby's bae, Shelby's true zaddy. But this is what he says. He says, "There will always be assassins who are willing to abandon their cause to serve ours. Yet there is no one who embodies this idea better than Shay Cormac. And I want the assassins to confront this painful reality." So tell me your thoughts about Shay and all of this. And then just a general question to the listener, and that we'll talk about, is Berg right?
Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts. Firstly, I've tried to keep an open mind. I really and truly have. And I think the thing that I come away with from this episode is, and like some of this I think is not Shay's fault. But once you get to be an adult, yes, this does become your fault. But he's just so individualistic. He is so focused on himself. And for an assassin, that doesn't jive. That doesn't compute. Because the assassins are, yes, in some ways you are supposed to be, you know, an individual, like making sure you don't get killed and making sure that your specific quests get solved. Like, yes, sure. But like, you are supposed to be working for the people in your community, wherever you're at. And Shay, it seems, doesn't give two figs about that.
I think that at their core, like, this is the important thing that happens, and why this is so frustrating about Shay in this Templar game for me, is that there is a sense of altruism that exists in both orders.
Yeah.
There's this like paternalistic looking down altruism that exists in the Templar order, but at the core of thing, it's we want to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
We just think we're the only ones who can do that.
Right.
Where the assassin says, no, the world can make itself a better place if we give it the chance.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a sense of altruism in both groups. Neither group is really, at their core and tenets, super focused on the individual, albeit the Templars are a little more because it's like, we are the only ones who can do this.
Yeah.
But it's not that very like individualistic, like I'm in this for my own glory kind of thing.
Right. But then to my second point with the quote from Berg, I agree and I disagree. My first gut reaction is to disagree. I know, disagreeing with my bae. But he's right in some ways. He's right in that any assassin who falls to the Templars is a failure on the assassins, right? And that is a painful reality that they do have to confront. However, what Berg says in the first half of his quote is that there will always be assassins who are willing to abandon their cause to serve our cause. I don't think Shay ever serves the Templar cause. I don't think he believes in the Templar ideology, just as I don't think he ever truly believed in the assassin ideology. So in a way, I don't. And he says Shay is the one that embodies that idea best. And I don't agree with that because I don't think Shay is basically just almost a servant that they say, okay, go here, do this and kill that person. But he's never, to the level of Haytham or any other Grand Master, like he's not trusted with, the major plans because it doesn't even seem like he cares.
Mm-hmm. I think Berg is looking for a specific thing in this, and I don't think Shay really accomplishes it anyway, because in the games, you can basically talk about how each assassin who has turned Templar, because Shay is not the first one in the games that we encounter. We've got Al-Mullen, we've got the person who betrays Aveline in Liberation. Baptiste.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Haytham. You've got Daniel Cross.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You've got Lucy Stillman. You've got several people, but all of them really Haytham. He says is too emotional, that he lets his emotion rules, and that's why he doesn't exemplify the Templar ideology. But I also argue that Haytham exemplifies exactly what the Templar ideology is supposed to be, because Haytham pokes. Instead of saying, like, we're the ones who should usher this in, he says he pokes holes at the assassin ideology of, like, you are just basically barbarians waving around blades and calling it freedom. And, like, that is much more deadlier of a knife, I think, than just saying, oh, we're the ones who need to be in control.
Right. This isn't a Haytham episode, though, so.
Shay is loyal to Haytham. Shay is loyal to the Finnegans, who are the ones who saved him. Shay is loyal to Colonel Monroe. Shay is loyal to Liam until he betrays that. Shay is not loyal to ideologies. He's loyal to people.
Which makes him really vulnerable to being taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm. And I think that with Berg, Berg is right that there are assassins who are always willing to do this. And I think that it comes down to the crux of Haytham saying our creed doesn't require anything other than the world to be as it is. But the game doesn't play at the morality. It basically just says, it takes the thing of like, oh, the assassins are bad too.
Mm-hmm. It's not deep enough.
It's not deep enough to a point of like really conflicting about the ideologies. Shay doesn't have ideological issues with the assassins. He has issues with Achilles.
Right.
And his perception that Achilles is just going to brandishly use the artifacts. But when they actually do find one, when they actually do see one, Achilles looks at it and Liam's like, what is it, Achilles? And Achilles says, I think Shay was right.
Mm.
And so Achilles does have the wherewithal to show restraint. He does have the wherewithal to say, no, we shouldn't mess with these things because they're holding up the world. Like,
yeah.
And so it is a point that Shay doesn't understand Achilles, and he just doesn't trust Achilles because he's not loyal to Achilles.
Right.
And Shay is very much this relational thing, and so I don't think that he shows that. And I'm really like interested in the writing decisions here, because Berg is also a person who doesn't really, he's going to criticize Haytham for being too emotional, but Shay is nothing but emotion.
True. That's true. I think part of it though is like, well, Shay's an underling and Haytham is the top dog. You know, like Haytham should know better. Shay is almost like a tool to be used.
I think it comes down to the fact that Shay isn't stopped by an assassin. Haytham is killed by Connor. Al-Mullen is killed by Altair. John Baptiste is killed by Aveline. All these
so
things,
so
like they fail in their attacks. Shay's the only one who is kind of successful. Shay is responsible for the Brotherhood being in the state that it is when we start Assassin's Creed 3.
Right.
And at another point, like, the assassins aren't gone because Achilles is still there. They still have contacts. Like, it does not take a lot for Connor to rebuild the Brotherhood because the people are already ripe for understanding the creed, because I do think that the Assassin's Creed blends well with the ideas that are presented in the American Revolution. Like, it's a natural counterpart. Just as I think the Assassin's Brotherhood is a natural place for freed slaves and indigenous people to find themselves in the colony.
Yeah. Another thing I think is interesting is like, and I know that this stereotype comes later, but like in the trajectory of Irish immigrants to the United States, you know, they first come over and their reputation is kind of like, oh, they're all criminals. They're all, you know, bad people. And then it kind of changes to like, okay, well, all the Irish immigrants are policemen. And so I think it's really funny that Shay goes from, okay, I'm working with this criminal underground group to, okay, I'm working with the Templars who are very cop coded.
That is very interesting. That is I didn't know that. So that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think Berg is right about his principle. I don't think Shay is the one who embodies that.
Yeah, I think there are better examples. In fact, Lucy would be a better example. In fact, Lucy is the perfect example.
Mm-hmm. And I think that she comes down to a point of like, you can't lie like that if you haven't abandoned the cause and really like put yourself into being a Templar. And I just think that that's really what we're getting at. And like, I think a lot of the problems is that a lot of these Templars, assassins, they turn because they're power hungry. And I think that doesn't serve Berg's purpose.
Right.
And like, that's my frustration, is that Shay still values all of the things that the assassins value. Like when he wants to protect the innocents. He wants to protect the people of the world. He says to Achilles, like, we don't get to mess around these artifacts. It's not our choice or our place to decide that. That is an assassin ideology.
Right.
He's an assassin with Templar skin.
Okay.
And that always really frustrates me about this, because I feel like they did have an opportunity to really explore the nuances of the competing ideologies, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they were afraid of, like, I think they felt like they couldn't justify morally the Templars when they had been the enemy for so long.
Yeah, I don't think they can morally justify the Templars. But the thing I think that is interesting is, like, a lot of times in fandom spaces we say all the time, like, oh, we want morally gray stories, like we want morally gray heroes, whatever. And then when push comes to shove, though, we really don't. We really don't. We want a good guy who is a little bit aggressive. We want a good guy who makes a few bad decisions and has a past. That's what we want at the end of the day.
I think a story like Shay's, with like from the Templar perspective, the World War II general
Boris Posh. That's what we want.
That's a better example of what we want.
For sure.
And I just come to a point of like, his story is better served in not a video game media. His story is better served maybe, and not in like a visual media, more in like this kind of like red stuff. And we see that like the story of Boris Posh is good. And I think that when you're not having to make the actions, you tolerate it a little more because you'll listen to the story. But a player doesn't want to
be truthfully totally evil.
Yes, exactly. In like a story like Assassin's Creed, like there's always the thing of like, oh, I'm going to do an evil dirge run.
That's different.
Like,
that's different. But let's be honest about RPGs for a second. Most people, I would venture to say 99% of gamers on their first playthrough or their canon playthrough, they are not doing a completely evil run. They may make some evil choices, arguably, but 100% they're making every evil choice. No, they're not doing that.
There are two things. One, I'm going to say, we did our own survey on Dragon Age, and that survey supports that claim you just made in the data of people tend to make the good decision. There's also a study that was done in the UK that found something about like 88% of the time gamers will make the pro-social decision in the game.
Yes, yeah. I think we've talked about that on the podcast
Yeah,
before.
And so like that is a point of like we don't really want these stories, but I think that like it weakens the argument of the tension when you have the Templar player and Shay be this person of like, oh, well, the assassins are actually just these criminals and they're bad too. They're not living up to their ideology. So I'm going to go over to this other organization that is living up to their ideology, rather than having a distinct argument of someone who actually believes.
Yeah.
Or comes to say like, no, like the world will never do this. Like someone who can buy into the depravity of the world. Like, and that's my thing about it is Shay never buys into the depravity of the world that I think is essential to understanding the Templar philosophy.
It would make a lot more sense if he was like non-committed to the assassins ideology, experiences all this trauma of like hundreds of thousands of people die at his hands, and then he says, yeah, I'm evil, and so is everybody else around me. The Templars are the only ones that can fix it.
Yes.
That makes so much more sense.
And that is an ideology that we could explore a little more.
Yeah.
Then I think that Shay is just like, oh, Achilles does this, when like it's really hard because the only point we get to a point is when Shay is an assassin. One of the people he assassinates basically says, if everything is permitted, where are the limits? You know, and like it just is that point of like it's very lacking, and I think it is not really a Shay problem, and it is a writing problem in there. But I get frustrated by Shay because I think he doesn't live up to what he should be.
There's potential.
Yes.
There's potential that the writing doesn't live up to. And that is frustrating. Because I think Shay could be an interesting character, but as it stands now, it's just frustrating because he's so childish and short-sighted. Is really what it comes down to for me.
I 100% agree. But I think that's all I have on Shay, and we can wrap this episode up.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Love or hate Shay Cormac, let's just say we are not a fan. But thank you, Austin, for doing the research, as always. And thank you all for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. If you have any lore questions, theories, or topics you'd like us to unpack, Join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It is the best place on the internet.
You can also support the show financially and ensure its continuation by becoming a patron at patreon.com/aclorecast. If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, comment or rating, or join our Patreon.
The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Podcasting Network. If you enjoyed our show's intro or outro music, give a big shout out to Pipeman Studios.
And until next time, Assassins, and remember, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
Are you a fan of Indiana Jones? How about someone who just enjoys an immersive story of historical fiction? If so, then the Indiana Jones Lorecast is the place for you. Join me, Sir Bandit, as we delve into the amazing and rich history of the Indiana Jones franchise, from the films and TV series to the novels, comics, and games. The show is available wherever you get your podcasts, so if you feel that call to adventure, you can come find me in my office. I'll see you there.